guys, what's up? So, back again, finally. And yeah, this again. I didn't want to cut it this short again, but I was shaving recently and I was trying to like just neaten this all up and trim it so that the mustache was a little bit less than the beard part. And I forgot to set it properly and ended up cutting this way too short, so I ended up having to even everything out. I'm not happy about that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I was just getting this at a respectable length too, so I got to do it all over again. Anyway, I didn't record this just to complain about beard woes. Now I got a little bit of good news. You may remember in my last video I had posted up that I would let you guys know when the person who was responsible for the swords that I recently unboxed and I'm doing reviews of. I would let you know when they will finally be able to be purchased. Well, thankfully, at this moment, they finally got a website set up. LK Chen finally has a website for English speakers, for anyone who is interested in what is now apparently being called in China the LK5, which are the five swords that I unboxed. So I know two of them right now are available for purchase. The other three, I think they're still working on some stuff. And the website itself, to be honest, is still basically being worked on, but the basic stuff you need to be able to order is there. So the link is below if you are interested. But since I am providing the link, I need to clarify a few things right now. I do not work for LK Chen. I do not work for that business. The reason why I'm associated with it right now is simply because at the moment I'm the only person in the West who's actually reviewed these things, and actually went all out to like handle them, practice with them, work with them, and showed a passion for this weaponry, and I genuinely do like them. So because of that, I've been in contact with LK Chen and with his business partner here in the States. So yes, I have communicated with them. That's how they sent me the five swords for me to review and look them over, before they can then sell those. But I don't work for them. So I need to get that off the bat because I want to make sure that, I don't want anyone questioning the reviews that I put up, because I do plan on making these reviews as unbiased as possible. Yeah, I do like these weapons, but I want to also judge them fairly as the products that they are. And you may have noticed that I do still nitpick on them, even though there are things about the swords that I like, and there's a lot to like. But yeah, just want to get that off the bat. I don't work for them. I don't want anybody to think that I'm being biased, or trying to force people like, yeah, you should need to buy these now, because I'm trying to get a profit or anything like that. I don't make any money off of these. I'm just somebody on the side who really appreciates these weapons, and I feel grateful for the chance to actually be able to handle them and review them and let you guys know what I think about them. And they are pretty decent. And when I finally get into reviews, which I am working on right now, I'll, go into each sword and tell you the pros and cons of all of them. So, yeah, now that I got that all off. And the review for this one, the sharpened version of the Flying Phoenix, is already ongoing. I've already started doing some test cutting with it. And I really regret that I didn't film some of the last test cutting I did because, yeah, this is one of the nicest cuts that I've done with that sword. I really wish I had recorded it. I barely even felt the bottle. And it was one of those really nice cuts where the bottom part is there for a little bit before it finally falls. Like it just shook a little bit. It wasn't like a big splash where they go flying. Now this just kind of went down, and this one just went down. I really need to hurry up with these, but I still don't have a cutting stand. Between my day job and regular everyday life of taking care of the kids and errands and all that, and trying to recuperate from work, the time that I need to do these videos and the review, and it's rather limited, to say nothing of having to build a new cutting stand. I still need to go out to Ace Hardware and get the wood and build it and do this properly. But I do want to hurry up with this because I feel like I'm running out of time. I really need to get these reviews done. But just letting you know, so far, this new sharpened version of it, I am quite impressed with. It was... I'll get into it later. I'm already off topic. So yes, this is going to be yet another martial arts themed one, but it's going to be a little bit more philosophical because there was something that I was kind of musing on as I thought about the situation that I find myself in lately. Being able to review these weapons, and these are weapons that, these particular den are, at least until now, were not very well known in the West, and they still, quite frankly, aren't that well known in the West. I'm the only person, as far as I can tell, that's been reviewing them. In China, the guy is a bit more well known, but here it's a rare thing. And the reason why I was able to review these weapons is because of my passion for Chinese martial arts, which is something that they appreciate. LK Chen and his business partner, they didn't hesitate, in seeing my passion for these weapons, to reach out to me, not just about these swords, but about Chinese swordsmanship history in general. There's been a lot of discourse on how these weapons were developed, why they were developed the way they were, what Han Dynasty swordsmanship was like, as well as what the weapons were truly like, and the whole history behind it. I've been getting some really good information on this, and it's all because I showed passion for these weapons, which originally was made for a predominantly Chinese audience. And here I am, a melanin saturated folk, the dude in the West, able to talk about these things. And they reached out to me just because of my passion for it. And I just sat down and started thinking about that for a second. And realizing how cool it is to be part of a community that can see people in that way. And I'm not talking about, Chinese swordsmanship exclusively, but martial arts as a whole. See, let's, just to get kind of serious here, to face a little bit of the realism that we're having to look at lately. There's just a whole lot of division going on lately, for a variety of reasons, which I'll be getting into probably in some other video. Yeah, I really need to get back to some of the more political and philosophical rants that I used to do, because there's just too much crap for me not to comment on. But suffice to say, and everybody I'm sure watching this knows, things are very divisive. And there's a whole lot that people aren't seeing eye to eye with. And worse, it's getting more and more like, where one group of people hates or fears another group and is scapegoating another group, or, you know, insinuating certain things about other groups, just lumping them up with certain negative traits. And it's happening all over the place. And people are just not looking at each other as fellow human beings anymore. Whether it be, because of ideology, a difference in ideology, a difference in genetics, a difference in sexual orientation, a difference in, your background, your ethnicity, whatever. If there's something that doesn't match the same way, there's going to be clashing over superficial BS. And it's getting more and more disheartening to see all this, though, to be perfectly honest. If I'm really going to be truthful with all of you guys, all this stuff I'm seeing is sort of the stuff that I've been seeing for many years. It's just finally out in the open. A lot of this stuff, it's disheartening, but it doesn't really surprise me. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but let's just say I've seen and heard a lot of things in my life, and all the crap right now that's going on is just like, well, people are finally just vomiting what I've always known they had inside. But that's not the reason why I'm making this video. It's not to focus on the negative. Despite all that BS, and it's not just in the United States, this is around the world, we're seeing more and more polarization. But at the same time, certain segments of society are finding more and more camaraderie. Certain aspects, certain groups that are able to look past these little superficial differences and see each other as human beings along other avenues. And one of these fields that I'm seeing this happening in is martial arts. Now, I'm not saying every single last martial artist is able to look at another one and go, hey, brethren, but I am seeing it, and I am experiencing it, and I like it. I wish there was more of it to go around. Ever since I started sharing my more, my martial arts side on this channel, which it may surprise a lot of people watching this right now, but this channel originally was not a martial arts themed channel. I mean, granted, to be fair, I know people think this channel is, But to be perfectly honest, this channel is just a channel where I talk about whatever the hell I feel like. It's just that right now I'm focusing on this because this is what these Chinese martial arts, because this is what I feel like, because it's a passion I have. But it's really just a place for me to just talk about whatever the hell I feel like. That's what it is, and I hope one day I don't surprise too many people if you suddenly see me switch topics on you. But ever since I showed that side, I see people from all different walks of life coming in. Oh man, that's cool. Oh, I find that interesting. And even more, they'll be like, "Hey, I found that interesting. Hey, did you know about this, that, and this? Or did you hear about this? Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know." And I'll look it up, and it's from people from all walks. It's not just Chinese martial artists, and when I say Chinese, I mean people who practice Chinese martial arts, not ethnically Chinese. Though a lot of them have reached out to me as well. Yeah, I've seen Japanese style martial artists. European style ones, a couple of Krav Maga guys talking to me about certain things they've noticed just from all over. And they're like, wow, that's really interesting. Or, I'm not too sure if I agree with that, but, and it's just this whole thing of us appreciating something that we have a passion in, despite all our backgrounds. And we're able to compare notes and just enjoy the discussion that we're having and just enjoying the fact that there's somebody else that we can relate to on this topic and just have fun with it. It's great to me. Like, I really cherish the fact that there are people who practice HEMA, something that is pretty, well, technically it's not really all that different from what I do, but you know what I mean. Culturally speaking and weapon speaking, there are enough differences. It's a different background and even a different approach to training. And yet, I've seen them appreciate what I talk about on my channel, just like I appreciate all the stuff that they talk about. I love hearing the discussions on the different ways, long swords are used over the years and the different theories on how to use it, as well as just the swords themselves. To say nothing about the fact that those weapons are freaking gorgeous. I love a well-made longsword. I do. I may not collect them, or train with them, but trust me, I look at that Albion website as much as you guys do, believe me. And then katana guys as well, people who practice kenjutsu or kendo or aijutsu or, whatever particular ryu they happen to follow. I love seeing that stuff. Japanese swordsmanship is really freaking cool. And I've conversed with a few people who are really good at it, and they see things about the art I practice that they find really freaking cool. And that's what I really like, the fact that we all can share in that and look past, superficial differences to share a passion that we have, which in a nutshell is how human beings are supposed to come together to begin with. Just a passion for life, a passion for certain things that motivate us, and being able to share that with other people and to share that joy that we have for it. That's one of the big things, the big positive things about being human that we forget a lot in this day and age. We focus on little superficial things that quite frankly don't mean anything, but we treat it like it's a big deal and get to the point where we're fighting each other or even physically harming each other over it. Doing unspeakable things to each other over superficial bullshit. But then, on things that can really matter, like expressing yourself to another human being and both of you experiencing the emotion you're sharing, that passion you're sharing in that moment, and being able to grow and learn from it, and then spreading that to other people so they can know that passion, or even if they don't necessarily follow that path, they can at least enjoy your enthusiasm, which then will enrich their lives and uplift their move and maybe motivate them in their own particular passions to seek something. That is a very positive experience to have in life. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about, being in martial arts, like training and this stuff, and then sharing the little bit that I know with everyone else. It's the solace that it's the one thing that I can really just take solace in with all the other BS going around in the world. I mean, there are a few things. There's family. There are my, hobbies, like me playing video games and fighting games and such. But I also just like the fact that this is one passion that I can share with other people, and we can see each other as brothers and sisters in our arts, as different as those arts may be, depending on what background you may have. Training background, that is. I wish I could see more of that, in a lot of different fields. But it is something that I really appreciate. It's like that statement that Bruce Lee had said that, under the sky there is but one family, which is true. And I really feel that way with martial arts. Now, I'm not saying there aren't meathead martial artists out there. I've met my fair share of those guys. But there's something to be said about a particular passion that we have, that it doesn't really matter. Like, there's so many people in the West who practice Asian martial arts. Okay, they're not ethnically Asian. They're not ethnically Chinese. They're not ethnically Japanese or Filipino, or 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 Indonesian, or whatever particular Asian martial art you happen to be taking up, like from what particular background. And yet we share passion in it anyway. We appreciate it for what it is. We appreciate the technicalities of it, or the artistry of it, or just the way, just mastering yourself in moving your body in a particular way to make it work. Or maybe it's just marveling on how well made the weapons were, or something like that. We find something about it that just attracts us to it. And it isn't just the fact, like some people, oh, you like it just because it's exotic. No, it's more that we're appreciating something that is human made and human driven, and then bumping into somebody else who understands that on a human level, and we can communicate at that level and use that as a vehicle to see each other as fellow human beings with similar goals in life. We may differ in a whole lot of other things. There are plenty of guys I've met in the past who I've shared a deep, connection with, who don't necessarily share the same views I do in life. But we don't let our ideologies make us jump down each other's throats, because through one shared passion we have, we were able to see each other for who we were. And considering how messed up the world is right now, that's one of the few things we have left, I think. It's not just martial arts, by the way. There's so many other things that we can have that experience with, but that's definitely one that, it's the one avenue I have. And it's one that I personally appreciate. So, for all you guys who come onto the channel to share your own particular passion in martial arts and swordsmanship and appreciation of this stuff, what have you, I'm glad you guys are here. I'm also kind of glad that you guys are small. I know my channel isn't all that big, partially because I don't put that much work into it, even though I should. And also because I try to remain low-key, because I know what the stress that the big channels go through. I'm not so sure I can handle it, but I do like this small little community that has grown around this kind of rinky-dink channel of mine. And it is a privilege, I think, that for the most part, over the years, we've been able to communicate through this and talk to each other without any superficial boundaries. Now, I mean, it's not 100%. There have been differences over a whole lot of other topics, but as a whole, it's been a pleasant thing. And I have to say that I really appreciate martial arts on that aspect. Not just, there's many of the other aspects. I mean, this is something that I want to get good at. I have a passion for it because I want to get good at it. I want to master it. I want to be able to contribute to this field and pass it down sooner or later. But in the meantime, the other thing that I'm really appreciating is just being able to walk this path with other people, even with their different backgrounds and viewpoints and even different training methods. We are still walking down that path and enjoying each other's company along the way. And that's a very joyous thing. Enough, mushy stuff. I got to get back to working on these. Hopefully the next video will either be the updated review and the sharpened version of this, the Flying Phoenix, or if that one's not done yet, then just finally getting on with the whole, evolution of these weapons and how they ended up with the ones we got now. So expect one of those two, among others, hopefully soon. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Catch you guys later. By the way, complaint. I recently started playing Soul Calibur 6. I like the game. Don't get me wrong. I like it. But when is Namco Bandai finally going to realize that you just can't throw any damn weapon you feel like for certain characters and expect it to work? You can't necessarily use kenjutsu techniques with a freaking claymore. You know what? If I go with every single last character and nitpick the weapons that don't make any sense that you can switch to, I'll be here all night. But the one that really drives me nuts is Shanghua. Ever since the first Soul Calibur, they have never gotten her alternative weapons right. This is a Chinese straight sword, okay? Well, this and many others. If you're trying to give her different weapons to spice things up, especially for character customization, I understand. That's fine. I'm all for it. But please, can you at least come up with better alternatives than a card or a freaking Kopesh? You can't, those are not weapons suitable for the style that she uses. We have so many goddamn examples in the real world, so many replicas of old Chinese straight weapons that you could be using instead of those. Why the fuck aren't you using them? After all this time, you still have her using straight sword techniques with a freaking Dao? You still are doing this shit? Do your fucking research. Please. It's driving me nuts to see these people using techniques with weapons that aren't suited for them. It's driving me nuts. Look, there's another characterization DLC thing coming out soon. I am really hoping there's some better weapons in there and that they actually suit the freaking fighting styles of these characters. Just saying. Minor pet peeve. But it drives me nuts.